Okay, for people joining this live stream, we are looking at the resource framework for Wolfram Language and final documentation for it for version 12. And let's take a look here. Documentation for resource object.
Yeah, so there's this one called resource object new that is a overhaul of this whole page that we started to review in a previous
Is
meeting.
it capital new or lowercase?
Capital.
All caps or just the first cap?
Just N, camel case.
Okay. So this goes to the list of resource types. What do we have there? Or do we not have that for this version?
We don't, well, we have a resource system guide page, which is also on the agenda for today.
Okay.
I don't know if we have something like a $$ export formats for a list of resource types.
No, that's not what we would expect there. That we would expect a guide page.
Right, we have that. That's also on the agenda.
Okay.
That link is probably not pointed at the right location, though.
Okay. Well, let's open that guide page, resource system. Okay. Did you make this page?
Bradley and I did.
Okay. So what's this?
It will be the repositories and archives resource system page.
Okay. Do we have content for that now?
Yeah, it's just the 5 big tiles: data, neural net, function, notebook.
So do we have that designed? Is there a design for it someplace?
I can send you a link to a internal page that shows it.
Okay. Then I think that's what list of resource types should go to.
So the list of resource types, we want to document the Wolfram language functionality of the different types. So it would still be doc pages.
Well then, okay, what does it go to when you go?
I put the link to in the Twitch chat thing.
Okay. That looks nice.
Yeah.
So is this going live soon?
Yeah, and there will be a search field too. That's the last thing we want to get in place before we put it live.
Okay. All right. And these, okay, so that will just click over to the front page there. Oh gosh, you still haven't fixed this.
Nope, it's in the queue. What QA is testing and the next update to a resource system.
Okay. Okay, so let's take a look at how it works for import, for example. It goes to that page, which is kind of odd.
I thought that would go to $ import formats.
No, it certainly shouldn't go to that. It needs to go to an organized page like this. Okay, I think I'm thinking that we should have a separate page which lists the actual repositories that we have. I want to try writing that page, okay? So that page would be called, what's that? Why?
Yeah, that's fine. I think that makes sense.
Okay. So repositories and archives. Actually, we don't have any archives yet. So we should just say Wolfram repositories, I think, for now. Well, we can say repositories and archives, whatever.
It'll make somebody's life easier down the road when we want to include that, to not have to change a bunch of links.
Okay, so let's go to the importing and exporting guide page. That's weird.
They're in language functionality related to archives?
No, not really. Not yet. What are these? I don't understand why those show up. Oh, no, they do show up as that. Okay, fine. Okay, so then here we would say, basically, there'll be sections here, okay? So I think, and that data repository thing should be an external link, and I don't know quite how to do that. Okay, to the actual data repository front page. Makes sense?
Should have a little DMA at the end.
No. That's not how no, I'm not, that's not what I'm saying. Look, I'm saying you link it to a raw URL. Oh, okay, I can actually do this here. I can just say link to URL, and it'll say the URL. Button contents. Okay, this is not the right thing for me to be doing. What is the URL of the data repository?
https://// data repository.wolframcloud.com.
Okay. Resource data. Default data from a data repository entry. Is that right?
Yes.
Now then this is, what else is there? There's just resource object for the data repository, right?
Right.
So full
symbolic representation of a data repository entry.
Yes. It's really a handle.
Yes.
That's what it really is, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay, now, is there anything else that we want to mention here? Okay, so this is the typical things that happen there are data set and
entity store.
Yeah.
There's a data repository guide page.
Oh, for goodness sake. What's that?
There's a data repository guide page that mentions a lot of these things as well if you wanted to pull from there.
Well, but then no, this doesn't make sense. Oh, for goodness sake. Why are we doing this page then? We don't need this page.
I thought this page was going to be a listing of websites.
But then why don't we just go to the page of lists the websites? I mean, this is okay. So we need a corresponding page for the function repository here. Do we have one for the neural net repository?
No, there's a neural networks guide page that's probably 70% overlap, so I don't think we need another one. But we have one for a function repository. Well, I mean, we could.
Why is that? Why, I'm sorry. Why is that grayed out there? No, that's going to the wrong place. That's going to interpreter. So that's an incorrect link there. Okay, both of those are incorrect. Makes sense?
Okay. Yep. Make a note to fix it.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm sorry. Let's unscramble this a bit. So we're going to need a page for function repository that is parallel to this page, correct?
Yes, we've made that. We reviewed it in a knitting meeting. I don't know, 2 weeks ago.
Okay, so let's look at that. Okay, fine. Okay. So how do you get to this page from the web page that you were showing me earlier? From this page, from here, how do you get to that guide page?
Yeah, we don't have a link. That's a good idea.
We need a link to documentation. I mean, it should say Wolfram Language documentation underneath here. And don't we have that for the data repository already?
We do. There's a using the data repository link that goes to reference. We can do something similar.
Okay, well, what the heck's that doing? That's going to that blog post? Why?
We can revisit that bar. We haven't looked at it in a little bit. We can.
No, that doesn't make sense. You got to have a separate page for submitting. That's a workflow for submitting to the data repository, right?
I think we have one, so we can just change that link.
Gosh, does anybody come to this page? Why doesn't this have a contact me thing?
Each of those is a contact form.
Okay.
I'll check with the groups that receive that information. I don't think we've seen a lot of traffic on there. It's due for a review.
Okay. But it doesn't help that these things are in a ghostly blue color. Makes them not exactly pop out as being important. Okay, so why, in the case of the function repository, let's look at the neural net repository. Okay, so this needs documentation. This needs a link to documentation.
Yeah.
Okay.
And arguably, the function repository could look the same way. Okay? Makes sense? Though the function repository is going to need something about how you submit to it. But probably will link to a workflow here. So, something like documentation. I wouldn't say Wolfram Language documentation because that will be confusing because the whole thing.
Just like
we could say
data
repository documentation here. Say that again. What?
Just like the data repository says, using the Wolfram data repository, we could have the same title.
Fine. And then we could have submitting to the Wolfram function repository, same thing that we had for data.
Yeah.
But I don't think this is as necessary there because it's like you don't say, it's a bunch of Wolfram language functions.
Yeah,
right.
pretty straightforward. Yeah, we can look at adding those to the landing page.
Okay, let me ask you this. Did you get the source code link here?
Not yet.
That should also be in our next update.
When is the next update?
Did we say we should?
End of next week?
Yeah.
By next week?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right, so what are we concluding about this page? We don't need it, right? It's just going to go to the listing, is just going to go to that web page.
So we need, I think, either this or a resource system kind of top level guide page.
Right, which is the other one that we were looking at.
Right.
Yeah, but I mean, that can be gone. That is not the listing that we're listing from resource object new should go to the web page.
So
okay?
From there, I'd like to have, similar to import-export formats, a page for each type of resource object that identifies the common metadata to that type.
Well, yes, that's a worthwhile thing.
And so the directory of those pages would be where that link goes.
Where this link here goes.
Yeah. So if we have a repositories and archives page or resource system page that lists the different types, wherever we list those type pages is what we want that link to be.
Okay, but we don't have those type pages yet.
Not just yet. No, we were going to update those shortly post 12 was the last page.
Okay, but so what are we going to do right now? I mean, right now we're going to list those things on this page, aren't we? Right? We got to list them on this page because we got to make lists of what the available metadata is. Right? Make sense?
Sure.
Well, I think so. I mean, otherwise, what are we going to do? Okay, so let's look at this page then. And I don't have to go back and look at the original resource object page, right? That this page is
right. That's right.
Okay.
I mean, the full metadata spec, it's nice to give people, but they don't necessarily need it to create these things because we have the definition notebooks.
Okay, well, how do people get to the definition notebooks? So that's what on the page that you had about
it's mentioned on resource function and define resource
what
function.
This should do is this should have a thing here that says for right now, it seems to me, well, yeah, that's not really right. That's not really right. Okay. I mean, this page will be a very, very sparse guide page right now. Right?
Mm-hmm. I mean, it could link to one of the other ones, the other guide page that is behind Wolfram Repositories and Archives on your desktop. And then we would add, when we make them, we would add links to the different resource types on that page.
Yeah, but this is not useful, right? Using resources here, this is not useful. That's wrong. Okay, so okay. Ethan on our live stream is saying it would be nice for people to be able to feature request and vote for new data sets or functions to the repositories. Actually, even better, how about people just contribute those data sets or functions? That's the idea. That's what we would like to see. That's kind of why we're building it in this way. Okay, so let's do this page. Okay, so let's say this becomes Wolfram Data Repository. See, the thing is, this isn't just our data repository.
Right. Should we say resource types and then have data and neural net? And
no, we can't. We don't do that. We can't have a second level thing here. So,
but I'm just saying right at the top, a very brief one level thing that's just going to
about data resources, function resources, neural net resources. Okay, then what we do is we say here, I don't know how you did that for this thing here. Let me try that again for this. I don't know how this works exactly, but something like that. Then we say resource data, which only works for data resources, right?
No.
What do you mean?
It works on net models. It works on neural nets.
Yeah.
What does it do in that case?
Same thing as net model.
Okay, well, let's not document that.
We don't need to, yeah.
Okay, resource data. Okay, so get.
Net model always pulls the primary model, right? But if
no, net model takes more than one argument.
It takes arguments? Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so then that's resource data. Okay.
And we should have a link to the Wolfram Data Repository guide page here too, right?
Well, then let's link it from here.
Yep.
What is it called? Wolfram Data Repository?
Wolfram Data Repository.
Is it called the or just Wolfram Data Repository?
Just Wolfram Data Repository.
Okay. No, that's not correct. It's a framework for setting up repositories and archives,
it's a framework for distributing Wolfram language content with metadata.
The system can be used both for private content, can be used for private content. The system is the basis for the Wolfram data repository, for a variety. Okay, how about for and we can link for a variety of Wolfram hosted repositories and archives, Wolfram curated repositories and archives. It can also be used for private repositories and archives. Okay. Deployed entries in repositories and archives get a web page giving information, get a web page that typically gives documentation and examples. Something like that. Yeah, Ethan from our live stream says it'd be nice to back these with GitHub repositories. Yeah. Yes. Although I don't know what's quite involved in that and how GitLink relates to that. Do you understand that, Brad?
We've had some conversations about that. It's certainly something we've got our eye on, but haven't, rolled our sleeves up yet.
Should look at it. Okay. Okay, so here we've got, what is it called?
resources.wolframcloud.com/function repository.
You know what? We should make this one be that same.
It works, but every documented link that we have on any announcement or blog post or anything goes to the data repository one. And if using this one, you might actually click a link and end up back at the data repository subdomain.
Who cares? I'm just trying to be consistent here. Okay, now this wants to be reference a function from a function resource. Okay, and that's going to link to the function repository page. Okay, now neural net resources. Okay, what's the URL there?
The same neural net repository.
Okay, and here we need to say net model. And then we're going to say just from a neural net resource, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Actually, maybe this is better. Symbolic representation or resource function. Is that better? No, I don't think so. Okay.
When I hear I wouldn't say reference, I would say get import.
Okay. Okay. So now we need to say resources. Okay. So now whose dog is that? Come on. Okay. Accessing resources. Okay. And that needs to link to, you say that needs to link to the neural nets page. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right, fine. So that becomes the link then for list of resource types. So this, by the way, becomes a non-futurized page. Okay, so now here, is this all new stuff down here?
The examples, yeah, I think I redid all the examples.
Okay.
Actually, they're all new since 11.3. I copied them into the existing.
Okay, all right, okay. Let's excise this page. This is not happening. Okay. Okay, now this page, is this page referenced from, where is that page referenced from on the main guide page? That's something we need to figure out.
Yes.
By the way, there's a complaint on the live stream that resource function of blah, 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 comma, quotes definition is ugly.
Oh, well, there's a new resource function that will be published eminently that will make that a much better interface for that.
Okay. Also,
question. Context. We have these internal contexts and they're ugly. We know it, and we're making a better tool.
Okay. Okay. So this is resource object, and I'm trying to figure out how to not mess things up and yet copy over this one. So you tell me that I can just delete all of this stuff and copy over it. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Up to you. All right, let's go down here. Copy. Okay.
It's all version controlled. Worst thing that can happen is
shush.
Brian and I figure out how to do it properly.
I think it worked. Unless you edited the metadata up there. I think that worked.
I did not.
Okay. All right, let's excise that page. Okay. Okay, so this now, I don't know how that link works. How does that link work?
It's probably not pointing anywhere. It was futurized because that page didn't exist yet.
Okay. Let's defuturize that. Oh, wow, it's got some funky error message there. But that list of resource types, okay, so where are we going to link to what you think of as what on earth is that doing going to the interpreter? That's just completely crazy.
We've got a note to fix that.
I'll just fix it right now. What the heck did it do? Seemed to work okay. Okay. Now, how do we get the metadata? How do we specify the metadata? You think you need a whole page to do that? And if so, where is it going to be linked from?
I think a whole page would be good. It's possible with just 3 types. We could do it on this resource system page, but as we grow, it'll be unchanged.
No, I understand that. But I mean, do you want? Okay, but notice that data resources links to the data repository page. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no possibility then of it linking to.
So you're thinking we should just describe the metadata on the data repository page?
Well, I'm not sure that's right, but how much metadata is there?
Oh, I don't know, 8 to 12 properties.
All right, let's see an example of one of those. Okay, so okay, wait a minute. What is all this stuff here? By the way, the other page. So remember, please, that we still haven't linked. We haven't knitted this Wolfram resource system.
Right, we still need to find it at home on the top level page.
I think for now that resource object is the place where we should list what the metadata is. And we may later change that. Okay. Makes sense? Because we don't have a good place on these guide pages to list this metadata. It's just a bunch of strings and an association.
Yep.
I mean, alternatively, okay, this list, I don't see how to do this. Well, oh, yes, I do. 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 Here's how we do this. Okay, what's the type here? It's called data.
Yes.
See, that's what we do, and that becomes a link to this new page.
Yep.
Get what I'm saying?
Yep.
Resource type for data with standard fields. What should we say? Defined, supporting stand. No, what do you say? Supporting standard collection of fields. Standard.
Oh, I thought you were describing where the link was going.
No, not at all. Supporting fields for content and metadata. That's what I'm suggesting. We'll futurize that for now, but that's where it should link, I think.
Do you want resource type to be camel case since it is the key in a metadata field of resource object?
Where? No, absolutely not. Okay, so then we'll go down there, function, et cetera, and then these will be links which will be in some funky color.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that phrase, supporting fields or content metadata, will apply to all of them.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
I mean, it's going to be kind of boring, but it'll say this down here. See, it's a little different.
Yeah.
Okay, so for neural nets, what is it called? What's the name?
Neural net. Camel cased. Yep.
Neural nets. Supporting evaluation and training. Including evaluation, training, etc. Something like that. Something like that. Okay. Okay, let's go back over here to the resource object. And what do we need to document here? So every resource has a resource type, right?
Yes.
Share the following standard metadata properties. Okay, fine. So that's correct for all of these, right?
That's right.
Okay. The setting, the value, possible values for resource type. Possible standard values for resource type include okay, this is where we get to say data function to be applied to arguments. Neural net allowing evaluation training something like this, okay? Possible standard values for resource type include okay. For resource and public source metadata, association of keys. Boy, I wish these weren't so long. Did we copy these directly from Dublin source? Dublin.
The descriptions?
Yeah. Why isn't there a title? Well, this is pretty silly, if I might say so. Okay, so what we need here, I mean, we certainly should start off with title. Oh, I see. This is the title for the source. Where's the title? Name of the resource. Oh boy. If this is the verbatim Dublin Core specification, we might as well just leave it here.
I can't recall. It's been a while. I can look up Dublin Core real quick.
Yeah, okay. Actually, here,
it's like we changed it a bit. Creator, instead of person, organization, or group, they just say entity. But that is primarily responsible.
Let's say data. This is the main point here. right?
Yeah, how it's integrated to the language.
Okay, so in principle, those might become links to something else in the future. Okay, and presumably we're going to have many more of these fairly soon, right? Including things like the system model, stuff and so on. Okay, now you have special things for different. Okay, so now you have special metadata for the data case. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'll have special metadata. Each resource type has its own extensions. The neural net extensions are actually almost the same as data. They use pretty much the same values.
Sorry, say that again. What?
Each one has its own extensions. Neural nets happen to be.
Where is the list of those
identical.
extensions?
I don't have it ready. If you look at the 11.3 version of this doc page, you can see it for data. Yeah, I thought we were putting.
We don't have the 11.3 version anymore. We don't have the 11.3 version. That was blown away. You just told me to blow that away, so I blew it away.
Well, if you have an 11.3 installed or something.
Well, I probably can just look at it in the 12 here because it's
right, the build page. Yeah, probably. So like in the middle, content elements, content size, content type, default content element, categories.
So I'm sorry, I'm confused here. This is only relevant for data or what?
It's also relevant for neural nets because they use the same tools. But it's not, none of that stuff that starts with content means anything for function resources.
Wait a minute, what did you change here? You changed a bunch of stuff here.
I took out everything that was not general to all repositories.
Well, okay, so where did you put it back in again? Like content size?
We had it on another page. On another
no, but you don't have it on another page. Where is that on the page?
We have it in a notebook somewhere that I could try to dig up. It might take me a while. I think it's on my old laptop. I thought we.
What are you talking about? I don't understand what you're talking about. I mean,
the plan was to make. We had a meeting where we wanted to do this, and we had all that content ready for you, and you said we can do make these notebooks after 12. So I thought that was not going to be this meeting. So I do not have this content ready. Right
okay, so we need to get it ready because this page has now got a bunch of stuff that's been removed from it. I don't even understand. The C also appears to be new here, right? You just added that.
Yes, yeah. It's a standard property that's been added since 11.2.
Okay, and you took out categories.
Categories is not like neural net calls them task types. They have a different name for how they sort things.
Okay.
Bob, I've found that notebook.
Just send it to me then.
It is still pretty rough. It's not something we can copy paste into place.
No, I understand, but.
Okay, hit send.
Right, this is all sorts of stuff that we thought would be on these type-specific pages.
Well, we can make the type-specific pages, but for right now, we have to put something. Yeah, okay.
This was our outline to docs. So they could.
Well, or are you suggesting we just don't document this for 12.0? What are you suggesting?
If we can turn it around real quick, that would be good.
Well, why don't you talk to Brian about it? I mean,
Hmm?
Otherwise, why don't we simply do this? Why don't we put in here, we put a section heading. How do you put a section heading in one of these? I don't even know. But Roger has section headings in things. I don't know how you put a section heading in here, okay? But let's imagine you put a section heading here and you say data resources, and then you list these things just there, okay? But I agree that this stuff, for example, I don't even know what the get. Why isn't that listed here? And what does data set do anyway?
If the data is a data set, it gets it.
If you just say data set of resource data?
Of resource object. Yeah, it's no different than resource data. It's just a convenience.
What if it's an entity store?
Then it'll give an appropriate error message and not give a result.
Okay, what is the get doing?
Same as resource data. They're all.
I think we shouldn't bother to document those.
Right, that's why they're not documented there. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so what I think we should do here is we should have sections here, and we should simply document. Okay, so let me write this, for example. Let's say I'm going to write this with some fake thing because I don't know what the okay, so that's a fake. Get what I'm saying?
Yeah, turn that into the heading.
Right. Okay, so now this will then say what the heck is this?
So you can use those if you're defining a resource programmatically. You can use things one way, and then they'll be. But if you're retrieving it from the repository or a cloud object or something, they'll be canonicalized into what I'm calling descriptive.
What? You said, I'm sorry. So
the ones I'm calling prescriptive are ones that you would use when you're programmatically defining a resource object.
Okay, so we say typical elements in a data resource include, and then we can say in a retrieved data resource include. Typical elements. Oops, I think I just did this wrong. Typical elements used in constructing a data resource include. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay, and there's that. Okay, typical elements used in organizing data resources in a repository include, right?
Perfect. Yep.
And that gets us everything here.
Yes.
Typical additional elements. Okay, so here, now this is descriptive, so content elements, is that right?
Yes.
Names of elements in the resource, right?
Right.
where the content of the resource can be
is stored.
Okay.
This is of the default element. It's not
Okay.
total, it's the default.
Right?
Yep.
Okay. All right, that's those. Okay. So content element locations. Is that where all the content is, or is that where the default content is?
Content element locations is an association where the keys are element names and the values are cloud objects or local objects.
Okay, but then what's content location?
Content location is a directory, basically. That is where the local cache is or where the resource is in the repository.
So should we say
it could probably better be named resource location, but it's something nobody ever really has to interact with.
Then why are we even mentioning it?
We can leave it out. I was being probably complete, but if you look at the metadata, you'll see it, but there's no real reason to interact with it.
Okay, let's leave it out. Okay, then content element locations. Do people need that?
Yes, definitely.
What is it?
It's an association saying where each element is located.
What do you mean by located?
A cloud object, a local object. You have an extra N. Content.
Locations of
elements given as an association.
I think that's enough. Okay, now what?
Default content element. That's important.
It's probably right there. Name of the default element as retrieved by resource data, right?
Yep.
That's storage locations of elements, right?
Yes.
Okay. Used in constructing. What's that?
So content if you want to create a resource with just one element, you can just use content. And
right. What's content elements doing here, and what's the two versions of content elements doing here?
Right. So content elements, when you're describing it, will take in-memory content. So it's not pointing at storage location.
No, but content elements, I thought, just retrieved a bunch of strings.
Right. It gets canonicalized to that, right? Right. That's why there's this difference between when
but I think it should have different names. What is content?
Content is an alternative to both content element locations and content element functions is the simplest dummy case when you just have one element and you just want it to be named automatic. You just say content goes to expression. It's the easiest way to get started, but it's not what you want to use if you're doing sophisticated resources.
Okay, I don't understand calling content elements the same here. I would have thought that was content element values.
Yeah, that would make sense. I mean, I don't want to document that for 12. It's not going to work.
Well, then let's futurize it.
Okay, that sounds good.
I mean, surely you can change that name. Maybe not. I don't understand what content element functions are.
They're predefined functions that apply to the other elements in the resource. So, we have, like in the data repository, we have, like for all those text resources, the plain text is the default content. But if you want to get the paragraphs, instead of storing it in duplicate, we have a content element function that breaks it into paragraphs, right?
Functions to generate derived elements from content, to derive elements from content, to derive
additional elements from.
Okay. Okay. All right, so then we're going to need the same thing. So why don't you mock this up and then let's do one more. Offline. Yeah, let's do one more iteration on this. And I think this will be fine for 12. Okay, and was there another page? I really got to go to a different meeting, but was there another page that, I mean, I thought resource function.
We looked at that already.
Okay, we've looked at it already. Good. Okay, fine. Well, surely you can use a simpler function than nested lookup on some giant Flintstones creature.
We can find a simpler example to put first.
Like the gray code example would be fine.
Yeah. We can put a simpler example first. No problem.
Yeah, let's avoid the Paleolithic references.
Yeah, we'll put that one down down lower.
Fair enough. Okay, I'll push all this stuff. Thank you. All good. All right. So, and I just am really looking forward. So you have started the content generation engine for the function repository. Is that right?
Yes, we've many hours the last week or so.
How's it going?
It's moving along. Yeah, I think probably 60% of the speed I would have hoped, but not 5%. So that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. All right. Well, and let me know when you need to meet with me about that stuff, about the content generation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks to people on the live stream.
Okay.
Talk to you all soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.